Hey everybody, this is just something quick to put together for an explanation for what it is I'm expecting for the midterm. Remember, the midterm is due on Wednesday the 11th as class begins. It is the only thing on your docket between now, July 4 and July 11. So make sure it is that you're spending the amount of time on this. I am really going to look through this project with a fine-tooth comb. Remember also, if I scroll down here to session 3, that I have for you here, the session 3 supplement, those are the coding examples we went through in class. And the session 7 video supplements, those are in addition to those, but are really just retellings, essentially, of those examples we did in class. These are going to help you get set up with everything you need to know for your midterm. So do not forget that these are here. As a matter of fact, my suggestion is once I'm done talking about the midterm here, go back and type your way, code your way through and understand what's happening with the examples here in the session 3 supplement and the chapter 7 video supplements. That is going to help and pay back with what you need to know for the midterm. So if you just scroll down a little bit here, I have the midterm project open. You will notice it's 100 points, and that is fairly substantial. And again, it's the only thing you have this week, so I am going to be looking at these with a fine-tooth comb. So here, starting at the very top, using HTML and CSS, code the attached document into a web page. If you scroll down a little bit, I have right here samplepage.pdf. That's the attached document, and it looks something like this. So what I'm saying is you'll be reproducing this page as a PDF document, and I want them as an HTML and a separate CSS document, not internal embedded CSS. Your project must include the following. Number one, using an image of your choosing, something that relates to the content, use that as a favicon. Remember, there are tools in session 2 and tools in session 3 that are going to help get you there. That is worth 2.5 points. Next, your name, address, you can use RVC's address, phone number, and your email as a clickable link should float over an image, so that's an important part here, an image as chosen by you. You may fictionalize all but your name. Fictionalize your phone number, that's okay. Fictionalize the address, you can simply use RVC's. Fictionalize your email if you choose to, but your name I need in there. That's going to help me locate whose project this is. This content area that you are creating will replace the other and the phone areas in the sample document. So that whole section will replace what you see is happening down here. So what you do not see here in the sample document is an image as the background here. That's something you are going to replace. Otherwise, this should read essentially contact and have that contact information in there. Those names, emails, again, that email is a clickable link, and the phone number should reappear in the footer of the page. The footer is not shown in your sample, but clearly the footer always goes in a certain location. And make sure that all of that content is centered. So next you are going to construct either classes or IDs for the major content areas. If you think of the major content areas, we have this big section up top, apartment for rent. If you think of it down here, we have this image and this image. We have the content here, and we have the content here. All of those you will create as classes or IDs. Make sure that everything resembles, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the PDF. You can certainly alter certain aspects and surpass the design if you want. The color and font can be of your choosing. Just make sure that you're adhering to good design principles. If you are looking to replace these two images here, certainly you could go to any of the tools we talked about in class. You can go to Morgue File, you can go to Flickr, you can go to the Google Creative Commons. Otherwise here, Pixneo, and simply look for furniture, for example. And that gives you well, some of these look like house furniture anyway. That's something that you could include certainly there as those two images here inside of the project. Moving on, position, the choice is yours, however you want to do so. Margins, padding, you've got a host of different ways, pixels, points, percents, and EMs to make sure that the content has enough space and so that the images have enough space throughout the document. So what do I mean there? You will notice that the text here, apartment for rent, $1,400 a month, does not simply touch the upper left-hand corner of the container that it's in. You'll notice the lipsum here. This is all of it. You'll notice it looks kind of Latinish. It's just placeholder text. It's called lorem ipsum or lipsum. This is just placeholders, but you'll notice that even as placeholders, it does not touch the upper and the left hand sides of that content area. There is margins and padding and pixels and points and EMs and percents and all of those things that are keeping all of these content pieces away from touching each other. That is what you'll want here to include, and how it is you get that to work really is up to you. In the content areas, wherever it is that you think it fits, include a link to the following page. So I just have an apartments.com link for you here that goes to big apartments for rent in the Rockford area. Do not allow the link to be underlined and choose a non-standard high impact color so that the link stands out. Remember, the text mentioned this and we mentioned this in class, is it's really sort of unusual for hyperlink text to simply be underlined anymore. We want that to be able to really stand out and be one of the areas that really draws your users' attention there. Another area that you are going to add that is not shown in the PDF is right here. Include a quote from a previous renter at the bottom of the page under what you see in the sample PDF but above the footer. And that quote will resemble a box with 4 rounded corners, a background color of your choosing, and a shadow. So what I'm saying is that would appear down here underneath the other section, underneath this content section, but above the footer that you're also adding. Next, provide subtle highlighting of the content with the use of colors for the content area, separating out major areas of interest visually. So what am I talking about? Up here with apartment for rent, that's something that you can highlight with colors. That's something you can highlight with bold and italics and underline or strong or different font face and font family choices. Here, this is something that makes sense to stand apart. Over here, when, where, time, those are areas that can stand apart. So it's easier for your unknown potential future client to come here to look at your webpage and to really identify in very, very short order the areas it is that you are looking for them to draw their attention to. So whatever you need to do to provide more context to those pieces of content, go ahead and do that. Center the entire content utilizing an appropriate portion of the available space. So if you look at the sample document, for example, it's not taking up 100% of the width of the viewport. We want your project to do the same thing. So what you're going to do to approximate that is up to you, but I want you to approximate that. Next, go back and add non-default typefaces of your choice to the page. Remember, a default typeface is rarely, if ever, the correct one to use. There are resources in the Session 2 and Session 3 module. Remember, we used in the first project fonts.google.com. That really will help you. You can use wordmark.it or flipping typical. Again, those are in the Session 2 module. That'll help you select font faces, potentially font sizing, that will really help add contextual clues to your page and make it look much more the part. So in general, your content will look much like you see here in the sample document, with the inclusions of an image in the background for the other section down here in the lower right. You will have potentially different images here and here for these two placeholder images. You will have a footer area. You will have a quote from a previous renter, and you will also be doing a little bit more to draw users' attention to whatever you feel is pertinent content throughout the page. One more note on what we're going to do in session 5. Remember, July 4 would be session 4, so that we are missing. Here in session 5, we are going to make a fairly substantial turn towards the modern with our web design. We are going to be looking at responsive web design techniques. A big portion of the class is going to be devoted to you guys in project teams taking a look at better, more complex layout design. We've got a couple of layout projects we're going to do in class. So go ahead, make sure you have your Wheaties, bring your Code Red Mountain Dews or your Grande Lattes or whatever you need to be really on point, because session 5 here is going to be a busy day. One final note, I will take, for your midterm projects, I will take draft copies, but I cannot give to you the same kind of feedback I would give on a case study. I can say, hey, this is on the right track. Remember, there are a few points here dedicated to such and such. You may want to clean that up before we get going. But what I cannot give you is corrective feedback like I can in a case study. I cannot say, hey, line 17 of your HTML is a result of lines 40 and 50 in your CSS. That's something that I can't do. I can give you a general idea, but I will not give you that kind of instructive line for line feedback like you'll have seen working with those case studies. Just something to be aware of. I can do that up through Wednesday, but if you're sending me a draft copy Wednesday late afternoon, you're not going to get a ton of feedback on that before class begins. So this is the only thing on your docket that is due on July 11. I am going to take special care in grading of this because it's the only thing that you have. Remember to go back to session 3 and look at those videos, look at those code samples. Very, very close to everything you're going to need is done in those sample areas. So after listening to this, go back and do review the session 3 supplement and the chapter 7 video supplements. These both go together. That'll go a long way towards helping that out. Good luck. Again, you can email questions, message me questions, and I'll do what I can to answer those, but I cannot give you directive, instructive kinds of this is what you want to add, that kind of thing I cannot do. Good luck. We'll see you on the 11th.